Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. Our next discussion for this venue today looks at the synergy between technology and national defense and how innovation is redefining the art of warfare and decision making. May I request our esteemed panelists, Major General Dr. Pawan Anand, Air Vice Marshal Arun Malik, Shri Prem Andrade, Ms. Meher Dev, Dr. Mayank Dwivedi, to please join us on the dais.
Don't make me look
Before I hand over the session to our moderator, may I take 2 minutes to introduce him? Major General Dr. Pawan Anand, AVSM PhD retired, whose expertise spans defense research and strategic planning. He was commissioned into the Corps of Engineers, winning the President's Gold Medal at the NDA for being first in Order of Merit and the Sword of Honor at the IMA. In his distinguished career, he commanded an armored engineer regiment, an engineer brigade in a strike corps, and served as chief engineer of Southwestern Command. Twice decorated for distinguished service, he also held key appointments in acquisitions and procurement. A qualified mechanical engineer and masters with doctors in strategic studies, he now directs the USI Center for Atmanirbhar Bharat and Technologies, mentors at NDC, guides PhD scholars in strategic studies, serves as an impaneled arbitrator, advises corporates on strategy, and contributes as a speaker and author. He is joined by a very dynamic panel representing both the services and the scientific community. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the session on military technologies and its impact on warfare. I'll just lay out the context before I come to the very distinguished panel that we have in front of us. Modern conflicts today have got reshaped by a very potent infusion of technologies. I mean, we've all now very familiar with AI and data, fusion autonomous systems, drones and swarms, cyber operations, electronic and electromagnetic warfare, space and counterspace, hypersonic precision missiles, advanced sensing, ISR, directed energy weapons, deepfakes, quantum. I'm just dropping all those names for you. They all trigger a line of thought for everyone as to how they get applied in every form of combat that we are witnessing today. But even as the nature of war remains constant, how do these changes in technology impact the character of the conflict? They create a battlefield environment which is much faster than it was earlier. The environment is more distributed or dispersed. It is more ambiguous. We used to speak about the fog of war. The fog of war is now many times X as compared to what it used to be earlier. Often the technologies are dual use in nature. So where do you track them down and how can you use them best in innovation? On both sides of the coin, you find technology has its cutting edge. In sum, the complexity, the pace, and the potency with which destruction can be wreaked upon the adversary has increased geometrically. And you can do it from standoff distances till you come to a hand-to-hand fight. आवाज आ रही है छोड़ दो बिल्कुल ठीक है. Is my sound carrying to the back? Now add to this sub-threshold warfare, hybrid warfare, just short of kinetic warfare. You will find there is public participation in war today as well. Today, the public participation may be in the form of spectators, as we all watch on TV and war unfolds in Gaza, or as we watch the Op Sindoor unfolding on our TV screens, or it is the war between influencers on either side building narratives, misinformation. All of these make the public participants in warfare. Along with it, the public is also a victim of this warfare more and more as the warfare becomes urbanized. And we saw a form of it in a hybridized warfare just a few days back in Delhi, which is no doubt not just a terrorist incident. Now, AI and ML have enabled speeds in decision-making cycles, increased autonomous targeting, which comes with its own ethical considerations, but it raises the accuracy and the precision with which weapons are used to destroy the enemy. Therefore, they are more precise and should be having lesser casualties, or rather lesser collateral damage. Yet it opens up gaps for accountability as to how the weapon is used and where it should not have been used. Unmanned weapons, legal autonomous weapon systems like drones, loiter ammunition, and swarms are now democratized. They are not only in the field, in the hands of uniformed personnel like we used to be, or some of us were still wearing it, but they are also in the hands of people not in uniform. And we saw expressions of it in the spider web operation that was carried out by the Ukrainians against 5 sets of targets in Russia, deep inside the heartland of Russia. We also saw poisoning of supply chains. And that you saw when the pagers operation unfolded by the Israelis. All this is part of a form of hybridized war. So when I say that the Delhi incident is perhaps not just a terrorist attack, I would relate it to the latter one. So we've come a long way from first generation, second generation warfare. First generation was about massed manpower. By the time we came to third generation warfare, it was about maneuver. Fourth generation, we spoke about hybrid and insurgency and low grade forms of attack. By the fifth generation, we were talking about non-contact warfare. But suddenly, in the last 1 or 2 decades, we started jumping generations in few years. So when we come to sixth generation and seventh generation, extreme electronic deception, fully automated, robotic warfare, I think the pace has gone up much faster, and therefore the need for us to adapt faster. I leave it here for relating a context to what we need to do in India today. And with me, I have a very eminent panel, which actually I couldn't have thought of a better panel. And I'm so happy that whoever I asked for is here with us. So immediately to my right is Dr. Mayank Dwivedi. He is outstanding scientist H with the DRDO headquarters in Delhi. He's a gold medalist in polymer technology from DCE Delhi and a PhD from IIT Delhi. He's been the director of DMSRD Kanpur. He also headed the industry interface division of the DRDO earlier, and in his earlier avatar as a young man in the DRDO, was deeply involved with the Agni and the BrahMos programs. So if in case you want to pick his brains after this, you're most welcome to do so. Further to my right is Air Vice Marshal Arun Malik, Vishisht Seva Medal. He's a distinguished aerospace strategist. He just retired from the Air Force, what, a couple of months back, Arun?
30th September.
30th of September, so just less than 2 months back. But he is an experimental test pilot with over 40 years of service in the Indian Air Force. He has a list of credits to him, but what I want to bring to your notice here today is that he's been the project director of flight testing at the National Flight Test Center. If you want to know anything about Tejas or Saras or the intermediate jet trainer, he'll give you the latest on all of these. We have with us also online Colonel Sanjay Singh. I'll have to confirm whether he's been able to join us, but I'll introduce him anyway. Colonel Sanjay is from the Corps of Engineers, so I'm happy to have him here with me as part of my fraternity. Minas finds that amusing, but that's the pleasure of all of us sitting here together with some connect or the other as far as the military is concerned. Colonel Sanjay Singh is a distinguished alumnus of the IIT Bombay. He's been the chief engineer of the Ascend Rifles. He is the chief of Army Staff Commendation Card to his credit. And for the last few years, he's been into defense indigenization. He is part of the UP Defense Industrial. For them, an MOU is worth 37,000 crores in the last 3 years. So he's been up to some serious business sitting in Lucknow and Kanpur. Sanjay, good to see you on the screen.
Sir, good afternoon.
Then further to my right is Meher Dev. Meher is given for all of us. Currently, she is the legal advisor with the International Committee of the Red Cross in Delhi. Before that, she was with the UN in Iraq from 21 to 24. And prior to that, she was in the UN Human Rights Committee in Geneva. Don't need to say more, but she will be speaking about some aspects about international humanitarian law when we come to taking technology forward. And finally, to my rightmost corner is Mr. Prem Andrade, and I save the best for the last, if I may say that. He's a distinguished engineer with Synopsys or with ANSYS for the last 28 years. So don't go by his youthful looks, but we are happy to have a good-looking guy with us. A graduate from IIT Bombay, he's got his master's in mechanical engineering too. And his expertise includes model-based systems engineering, simulation-driven design. I have been interacting with him frequently regarding use of simulations in our training and also to create digital twins for our equipment so that we can do time saving and cost saving for development of our equipments. So here's a guy who will tell you all about digital engineering and how we desperately need it today in our country. I took a little time to go over this because you need to know where we are, the nature and the background of the people whom we are sitting with out here, so that the discussion is more focused on to their expertise. Let me start with Dr. Mayank and Dr. Dwivedi. Of course, we would love to hear all about what your experience in the missile field would have been and how you see it today. But I also want you to dwell upon a little into the materials domain, which is your expertise as well in defense technology. So that being one, the second part being the industry interface that you looked at. How do you see it progressing today? So I've actually put 3 questions to you: missiles, materials, and industry interface. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. General Pawan Anand, AVSM, and Director USI. General Pawan Anand, AVSM, and Director USI SATNAP. My all co-panelists with me, all the veterans, service officers, ladies and gentlemen, many researchers, all the people over here, very good evening to you all. And I am really thankful to General Pawan Anand that I was not able to hear.
Cannot.
Now am I audible?
Yes.
It's better.
Now it's better. Gunners can hear.
Gunners
The joke when we say gunners, it's basically guys who've been with
Yes.
artillery gun pieces. So over a period of time, they have lots of hearing.
And then armored also.
Realization.
Same thing with armor.
Armored also.
Subjugation.
Half armored, right?
So first of all, I am thankful that he has given me this invitation, and then I am here among you, and I am able to discuss with you. So I understand I have got some 8 to 10 minutes.
I mean, you can make it 5, you can make it 15. It's up to
Okay,
you.
okay. After 5 to 10 minutes, I can take it that way. Uh, First of all, that the topic is very good. With the post-operation Sindoor, whatever you are going to take it up with the heritage as well as you are talking about the futuristic thing from the history you are bringing to the future. It is a really very good thing, very well thought of. And here I will start from Operation Sindoor, that whatever you have seen, not only the BrahMos and Akash missile system, what the question you have asked, basically many other things where India has performed quite well. That's why we could subdue Pakistan in no time. There are primarily three things. One is the cyber warfare. The way India is playing today, I think we are second to none. Let me tell you, though it is quite close and it's not talked open environment, but it is a fact that in cyber security and cyber warfare, we are quite tough, quite strong. They are replayed. Our satellite programs, a satellite group of defense, where the DRDO is also playing a major role. There we have really did a fantastic things, where all the radar system, etc., were switched off by Pakistan and China, and we could pinpoint a target. That's how the Noor Khan, etc., we could pinpointedly with our satellite things we could attack. And third thing was a directed energy weapon, which was operating in the western border where our laser weapons, they did really fantastic job. Just at the cost of 5 rupees, each and every drone of Pakistan was brought down. Good that we have done this. Now the three questions you are asked, there I will be very crisp about it. Apart, as far as missile technologies are concerned, let me tell you, it is an official statement I am giving you. We can make the missile on demand today. Today, the India has come up to a level where we are really doing exceedingly well. Yes, a few things are there we have to really work out. Number one, the hypersonic technologies. In the hypersonics, we are doing quite good. As you know, HSTDV, etc., have been flown successfully, and a hypersonic system, scramjet engines, India is doing quite well. And also in the supersonic regime, where the BrahMos missile system is there also we are doing, but still we require certain collaboration in supersonic system. In hypersonic, we are having a lot of self-sufficiency, and of course, we are working towards very vigorously along with the industry and academia on hydrogen fuel. And then we are working on the EM railgun. EM railgun is quite a successful program of India, and that we are going to do for the launches in future. Therefore, missile technologies are concerned, let me tell you, in control and guidance, in the Seeker technology, rocket motors, rocket propulsion, propellants, the warhead systems, we are really quite good. And this is the future. I have told you the hypersonic, supersonic, we have to focus more, and also the related materials. Basically, one very associated question he asked me, what about the materials? Let me tell you, whatever the design and ideas you have got in your mind, to fructify those ideas into a reality, a product, a tangible product, the medium is materials. Today, when you see iPhone 14, 15, 16, they are coming up. It is not coming up because some new technologies are coming. Let me tell you, primarily the metals are playing the game. Prior to niobium was invented, not invented, rather, use of niobium as a touch screen was invented. The touch screen was not available in the market. So let me tell you, the materials are really playing a big role. So I think the materials area where India has to really focus, still we are not very, very strong in technical textile and various materials. So yes, the materials like objective materials, the stealth materials, then that materials which are making having a negative refractive index, those type of materials, metamaterials, all those materials are required, and those materials we are working it out. Today we have developed one very good ecosystem where we are funding the industry for the R&D, as well as in a big way we are engaging the academia also with us. And that's why today I can see 15 DIA COE centers all over the country the DRDO is running, and that's how the academia and industry we are bringing it together. And last point, that what he asked me about the industry. Let me tell you, without industry, nothing is possible. We say as R&D people that we do quite a good work. We have got very good ecosystem with Indian Armed Forces and DRDO. We are working together. But Without industry, nothing is possible because the complete ecosystem is required. Whatever design and development is done along with the industry, finally to make it reach to the user, industry played a very important role. And here, let me tell you, today, I salute this government of India. The type of policies have been brought in by government of India for the industry-centric policies. Really, it is doing quite good. And let me tell you, not only the industries, even for the students, the academia, everywhere, the type of funding is being done today. It is quite a good thing. And the way this entire ecosystem is working, has to be further, I may say, enhanced, because now we have taken a resolve in DRDO, whatever industries can do, DRDO should not do, and we are not doing it. We are continuously releasing the list where these systems are very much established, and those systems only should be done by the industry. So I think that finally the ecosystem where the user, the R&D organization like DRDO and many other R&D organizations are working together, the industry, the academia, when we put our efforts, only then we can see really what you are finding, that really with the military worthiness of all the technologies and the quality of the technology is going to be used by the Indian Armed Forces. Because one thing lastly I will say, finally, the battles are not only won by the equipment and the technology, by the morale of the soldier. And morale of the soldier has to be kept up by the type of equipment and the weapon system he or she is using. If my soldier is having a rifle and he has not the confidence that it is better than whatever Pakistani soldier, Chinese soldier he having, then probably he will be morally not that strong that time. So it is our duty, collective duty of entire country. Like you talk about the DRDO, you talk about industry and an academia all put together, that we should provide a system which is world-class system. And that's how the army accepts only world-class system, and that we are able to deliver to the industry. And that's how the country is progressing in quite a good path. I am very happy that I was invited here. And if any question is there specifically related to anything related to defense technology, I will be very happy to answer. And with our efforts like these conferences, etc., they are very important for making the country Atmanirbhar and making the country self-reliant. What Modi ji always says, that Viksit Bharat by 2047, that will be surely true. Thank you very much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Dwivedi. We'll certainly get back when we can to, not only those two questions, but also get back with some of the points that come from the audience. Now, let me quickly go over to Air Vice Marshal Arun Malik. And it's a very pointed kind of a question I'm going to ask you, Arun. You've been a test pilot. You've been actually trying to develop from various levels up to the Tejas. And today we even tout the Tejas as an achievement of sorts. But one of the places where we seem to have gone very slow, extremely slow, is the development of an engine. And even today, we are trying desperately to buy engines from the United States, and we inked another deal with the GE just a few days back. Sometimes those timelines are also not met by the Americans, and at times it feels, and it appears, that it may be more geopolitical than an industrial capability which they're not able to give to us. But that besides, we also had the GTRE, which has been developing the engine for such a long time. We have the ADA, and yet people in the Air Force, people like you, have not yet got an engine with the requisite thrust that we would like to have in a fighter aircraft. So can you just give us some of the nuances that have gone into this and why we have not been able to get to it? I suspect one of the reasons is that materials, as Dr. Dwivedi just mentioned. But are there other reasons beyond that? Your views, please.
General Anand, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would like to thank sir for, as Dr. Mayank also said, for having given me this opportunity to come before this audience. We have to understand that specifically, before I get on to the general topic of the entire symposium, an aircraft is built around its engine. We have to realize that the engine is at the core of the aircraft, and building an engine is not an easy task at all. You have to realize that this is probably 200 to 300 kg of pure metal, which is rotating at say 1000 RPM, 800 RPM with temperatures, especially in fighter engines where you have what is known as the afterburner regime, which is the hot end parts going up to 1800 degrees Fahrenheit. And all this has to work in spaces which are not obviously as big as this, but with millimetric precision, millimetric accuracy in terms of design, manufacture, and minimal spaces between rotating parts. So it is not an easy task at all. However, this does not mean that developing an engine is not important. As Dr. Mayank also said, and General Anand also said, that in today's day and age, being dependent on someone may be not just due to technical reasons, but also due to geopolitical reasons. I will not go into what is the reason for the delay in the delivery of the G404 engines by the US. That may be pure geopolitical. But to focus on that aspect that despite there being 30 to 35 years of a development cycle, we still do not have an engine of our own. As Dr. Mayank said, and I also said just now, the core aspect is the capability of India to develop metals of that strength, of that ability. I will just share some information with you. The Su-30, which is manufactured indigenously in India, in Nasik, all aircrafts are generally of three varieties when you come to a manufacturing cycle. One is what is known as a completely knockdown kit, where the kit comes from abroad, you just assemble it, where there is no gain to the industry and there is no knowledge build-up. Second is semi-knockdown, where you have a certain level of development and manufacture. And the third is when the material only comes from the OEM, that is the original equipment manufacturer, and you reduce the material to actually modules, line replaceable units, system replaceable units, and actually make a platform, aircraft, tank, or whatever. In the case of the Su-30, we last batch of Su-30s were indigenously manufactured. That is, we got only the material from Russia, and the entire aircraft was made in India. The emphasis, what I'm getting to, is the material came from Russia. We do not have that present capability where aircraft grade material is manufactured, steel is manufactured in India. Now to come to the stage where what I said in the case of an engine, where not only is it the actual capability and strength of that material, you also have the ability of that metal to withstand temperatures of up to 1800 degrees centigrade while it is rotating at 800,000 RPM. Presently, despite all the effort which has been put in by GTRE, we do not have that level of material which can withstand these kind of stresses. So, just to get a little into the technicalities, the thrust of an engine is measured in kilonewtons. That is the amount of thrust which is developed by an engine. And the ability of an aircraft to perform basically matters about how much of thrust you are developing vis-a-vis the weight of the aircraft. So this is just in broad generalization where thrust and the weight come in. For an engine for the Tejas, we require an engine at least of 90 to 95 kilonewtons. That is, it is developing that much of thrust so as to be able to power the Tejas to the speeds and give it the capability to maneuver within the parameters that we want. The current engine, which is being developed by GTRE, as I said, there are certain hot parts, which is the afterburning regime, and there are certain cold parts. The GTRE, because due to its inability to get material of that capability, has still not reached the stage where we have an afterburning section of the Kaveri engine. Presently, we have only the dry part of the Kaveri engine, which is developing just in the region of around 50 to 55 kilonewtons, which is grossly and totally incapable of giving us the desired performance in a Tejas class of aircraft. So what is the way ahead? This is the problem. The solution is obviously to develop our metallurgical capabilities. That obviously the industry will develop in course of time. That is why I think presently in the recent past, there have been a lot of discussions about India partnering with certain big design houses in the engine field so as to be able to develop engines of its own. The final, I think, contracts have still not been signed, but some of the names which were mentioned were obviously General Electric and Safran. Now we have to understand that whenever you collaborate with anyone, there is a certain transfer of technology. But again, I may be batting well above my knowledge base. There will be certain geopolitics always involved because the day you transfer all your technology to me, you become redundant. So the point is, whomsoever we collaborate with, we have to be very sure that we actually get the kind of technology that we want so as to be totally independent and not be dependent on them for that last mile connectivity or any future upgrades. So this is a state where the development will take time because even if we get into collaboration with any of the big engine houses, the time for an engine will be at least 8 to 10 years for its full development. So that is why I think what General Anand also brought out that HAL has signed a contract with GE for delivery of engines primarily so that our Tejas platform continues to run while in parallel the development of the engine will continue.
Okay.
So I think that
Just a quick interlude here, and then I'll go on to the next speaker. But I want one thing to get quickly clarified. We were denied cryogenic engines a long time back when we wanted to make the PSLV, and sanctions were imposed against India. We couldn't buy cryogenic engines. And it took us about 10 to 15 years to develop a cryogenic engine of our own. And finally, we have our own PSLV and we put satellites in geostationary orbits, right? Why is an engine any worse than making a cryogenic engine, an aircraft engine? And if it is about materials, and if you have some thoughts on that, Dr. Mayank?
I tell you the cryogenic engine is one time use. Making a cryogenic engine or any, see, we are making so nicely missile engines, we are making PSLV, GSLV engines. This is not an issue. But when you want an engine which is repeated use, there the metallurgy comes in a big way. Here, what is the point General Malik, Air Marshal Malik has brought in? The point is, it is not only the high strength materials. Basically, what happens when the engine is high temperature, you are operating it, the creep is creating a big problem. Usually, the material which can withstand 15 to 1600 degrees Celsius, it is virtually impossible. So what happens? There are jet vanes, there's a cooling channels, and that's how we try to bring the temperature of the hot end within 1200 degrees Celsius. This is the technology all over the world. Bringing it 1200 degrees Celsius with the jet vane, etc. is possible. But even up to 1200 degrees, the creep failure is occurring in the metal because at the high temperature, those are crystalline material. It's the melting point is say 1600 degrees Celsius. But under creep, it behaves as if it feels around 11 to 1200 degrees Celsius. So these are the criticalities. See, I tell you one thing last, because I will not take much time because others people have to speak. Making the engine with 52 kilonewton and then going for 72 kilonewton with the afterburner, the cavalry engine, at least India could understand what is the engine is, what is this animal is. But the problem is bringing up to that 90 kilonewton or 110 kilonewton for AMCA and other for the 120 kilonewton, 130 kilonewton. There the type of the system engineering required. There we are lacking because we are still very young country. We can say that we are doing so many things. Let me tell you here. Till recently, till Tata has taken over Reliance Rover and other things, you were not making the Luna engine in India. Your motorcycle engines were all imported. Your TVS, Suzuki, Hero, Honda. What is this? The Honda engine is the Hero. So that is the point. You try to understand in combustion engine, we were nowhere. Even Ambassador, you talk about the Fiat, you talk about the Fiat engine was there. Ambassador, there is that Morris engine was there. In all your Mahindra vehicles, all the Austin engine is there. So basically, all automobile engines also we were dependent outside. So aero engine, when you are talking about, is a very big call. And engine development takes time. I tell you, you talk about the aircraft like there's F-35 and other things. 35, 32 years they have taken for the development. This takes time. But America has set up because they have got such a big repository of the research. I tell you, R&D is what? How to rule out the impossibilities. Now they have got so much repository with them, they know what are the combination will not work. Here we have to experiment everything and find out if this will not work. That's how the gestation time is taking place. It will take place. Thank you.
Anything to add quickly? Just a line? I think he said it all. Yeah, it's quite obvious. Yeah, thank you. Let's change gears a little bit and go to Colonel Sanjay Singh. Sanjay, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear, sir.
Yeah,
Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you. There's a lot of work which is getting done at the UP Defense Industrial Corridor. Many of us might be a little in the dark as to how much progress has really happened. But rather than asking you for just the progress, let's just look at status. What is the status today that you think we are at? And what's the roadmap ahead? In the light of what we just spoke, I mean, give it a little tilt towards what we just spoke between the two previous speakers. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, General Anand. I will come to your answer to your question. But before that, I'd like to go slightly back and try to address the audience and bring about certain facts and figures. I am basically hitting at the technology part in my discussion, and I'm not going to bring out the complete canvas of UP Defense Industrial Corridor. Now, if we talk of technology, sir, the technology, we all know that it is categorized under 9 levels. We call them as TRL, TRL1 to TRL9. Now, if I broadly bracket them, then the TRL1 to TRL3 can be taken as the research, 4 to 6 can be taken as the development, and then subsequently up to 9 is the deployment. Now, what we must also understand is, it is there in the open domain, that how much are we spending on the R&D. Now, if we talk of the GE R&D, that is the gross expenditure on the R&D, today our country stands at just 0.7%. Israel is at 6%, South Korea is at 5%, and US is spending about 3.4%. Now, with this stark gap in the complete funding, what is actually happening? I will subsequently come down to as to what is UPDIC doing for this. Now, sir, when we categorize these 3 things, we all know that what happens is that the first bracket, that is the research, is the basic principles, getting it validated in the lab. Then subsequently for design, we do it in the environment, and then commercialization. Now, if I take the whole thing under, this takes 4 steps. The total trajectory of this R&D, starting from the concept that has been incubated to the commercialization, that is TRL9, the trajectory goes through 4 paths. The 4 paths would be that the first is the basic research and invention. Most of the time, the government is funding it. Then comes the prototype demonstration and market analysis. Now, the moment we start this, here are the enterprises and the founding investors who are only interested. Let's be very clear on this, that at the end of the day, it is all business. Now, coming on to the 4th stop of the trajectory, it is the early commercialization. Now, who's interested in this? Venture capitalist. And then subsequently, it is the market entry and the growth. Here is when the creditors and the investors come in. Now, with this backdrop, sir, what the category 2 and the trajectory path may category 2 and the category 3, we call them, or we can call them, as a valley of death. Here is the time when there is no fund infusion is there. There is no impetus, there is no attraction that who should do the research. The funds are just squeezed off. So what UP Defense Industrial Corridor did, sir, since the inception, it was announced in February 2018. By 2018 December, we went into a memorandum of understanding with two centers of excellence. Basically, they were the institutes of the international repute. One was IIT Kanpur and the other was IIT PHU. What did we do with them? We said, you will take the problem statement from the users. Primarily or initially, these problem statements or the gap in the R&D work could be found in the, Mr. Dwivedi would agree with me, on the website of the DRDO. So anything that was relevant for the defense and aerospace sector could be picked up. Validation could have been done by the services headquarters, and the government of UP started funding it. Till date, to both the ITs respectively, UP Defense, the government of UP has given 12 crore rupees to each of them. What did they do with this? There were certain problem statements which were there, to which they found out the solution, and to work on those solutions when they wanted fund, they had projected it, the government allowed, and they gave it to them. Out of roughly about 9 problem statements on which IIT Kanpur was working, 3 have reached the TRL 9 level. They have been offloaded for commercialization. Similarly, about 2 to 3 areas by the IT BHUs have been commercialized. So, and they are up for grab for the industry. Now, when I'm talking of industry, they are not going to be primarily the investors and the allottees of the UP Defense Industrial Corridor. You started this question with as to what is the status today, sir? So the first piece of land was leased out on 9th of June 2021. Today, when we stand on 14th of November 2025, in this 4.5 years or so, or less than that, today we boast of 62 permanent allottees in our defense corridor. Out of these 62 allottees, they are realizing the total investment about 12,000 crore rupees. 90% of them are the MSMEs. They are the allottees and the investors who are investing about 2 crores, 8 crores, 10 crores, 30 crores, and not more than that. I leave beside those 8 anchor units, which also includes BrahMos, which also includes Adani, which also includes Bharat Dynamics Limited. If I leave aside them, then there are allottees who definitely don't, and most of them are working on a bootstrap budget, who don't have the correct fund to do their R&D. So there we come in, pitch in, and do the help. But still, sir, the story cannot be hunky-dory all the way. What I brought you, we need together, we have to decide, we have to find out as to who will take us out. That is the people who are going to do R&D from the valley of death. And sir, we know what is going to be the tomorrow's battlefield. The canvas we all know. It is going to be a seamless fusion of AI, ML, the autonomous systems, the cyber, hypersonic, you name it and it is there. One more lacuna which is also there is that, say we have learned certain lessons from the Op Sindoor, or for that matter, we are learning it from what happened in Gaza, what happened in Ukraine. But the problem that I see is, when we discuss is that, when we realized it, yes, we could have done something there with certain follies that we made or certain gains that we made. We start working on the technologies which were used in these operations. Are we going to, or are we doing the R&D for the battle which we have already been fought?
Yeah.
So here comes the brain and the brainstorming as to, if this has happened in Op Sindoor, what is going to be the next scenario? And you just mentioned that the generations of warfare, that is the nature of warfare, you categorized in generation 1, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. Now it is going to be less than decades. The next war would be fought, whether it is hybrid or in whichever way, maybe in about 2 years' time, for all practical purposes within 2 months. So after learning the lesson, so here is the funding which I feel is required, is much more required. And for this very fact, I think the government was sanguine to it. And on 3rd of November, they brought in this RDI fund, wherein if you see the direct infusion,
on that happy note that there are more funds coming into the sector, I'll just take it forward, Sanjay. Thanks a lot. But, I want to take it from there directly, because you said now we have to fight the next war, and therefore we have to prepare ourselves for the next type of war. And I go directly then to Dr. Andrade to tell us as to how you perceive we can for ourselves through your expertise for the next set of webinars that we would like to have. Actually, we're running a little short of time. We are expecting a VIP shortly.
Sure.
So as fast as
Sure. Thanks. Thanks USI. Thanks everyone for getting me here. So I'll make my comments in relation to some of the things I heard in terms of the valley of death. What is the role of industry DRDO? So systems are going from physical systems to cyber physical systems to AI ML driven cyber physical systems, right? And digital engineering or working on doing the engineering of these systems on the computer is becoming paramount, and there's no other way. So when we say funding, right, I'm hoping that the funding is not just for huge wind tunnels and things like that. A lot of the funding now is to go into in a very different way in terms of AI ML systems. How do you digitally engineer? So in very interesting, a couple of weeks back, I did a webinar on digital engineering of a aerospace engine. And it was very interesting to hear right from creep to the type of temperatures, the sort of tolerances between the rotating parts. So even GE, when they did a lot of commercial aero engine work here, they only used to work on the cold parts in India. They didn't want the IP of the hot parts to come in India, even for the engineers to know about. Right? So it is definitely a journey. But what can speed it up is how digital engineering can speed it up is that it's a great level to work on something. So let's look at, for example, the value of debt argument, right? Where you have all this R&D to be done when there's very little investment. And I'm thankful for the UP government and others to put that investment in. But we're seeing more and more startups and even industries who are trying to figure out concepts digitally on the computer and actually show the startup investors, the venture capitalists, that, hey, we have this concept, we can show it works, and they actually get funding, level A funding upfront just based on a digital concept. And you see a lot of startups, for instance, coming in the drones that actually used in the Sindoor warfare were actually startups that started in India which generated this. So this whole change of warfare, so while it's important to still focus on the GTR recovery engine and so on, the whole concept of warfare, and it was mentioned in terms of it's a congested, contested, constrained environment where a lot of it is on the software, a lot of it is on the AIML, a lot of it is on the scaling through many rather than few small assets. And a lot of it is now being digitally engineered to really make the paradigm shift. How from India you move from a landline straight to mobile in a jump. It actually gives India in a position to really make the jump fast. Another strong thing to our advantage is that we have a huge talent pool of STEM engineers, right? Who have grown up in the last two generations in the digital world, right? When I was an engineer, we had these huge workshops for lathe and fitting and stuff like that. But if you see the last two generations, they started CAD on computers, they started CAE, CFD, FEA, and they've grown up in that. Now, unfortunately, they didn't get too much opportunities, and they were sort of, I would say, doing sort of clerical engineer job in India for MNCs outside. But now there's so much money being pumped in that we can take that same talent and come up with some real innovative stuff. It may not be the next aero engine, but it's definitely going to be disruptors. And we see that happening in a lot of startups, which is going on. So just to keep it short, I'll stop there.
Yeah, thank you. So it obviously we're going to make the digital model and then make sure that we can make the physical model after that, which is functional rather than keep making prototypes.
Absolutely. And the government and the Ministry of Defense globally, they're saying that they're telling the primes and the vendors, we'll give you a digital operational condition on the computer. You tell us what you can provide. Instead of me giving a hard-coded RFI, you tell us what you can provide to meet the mission metrics I need, and you come up with something innovative. So different vendors like a Northrop or a Raytheon might give two very different systems, which may have not been prescribed.
Yeah. Since we're very short of time, I'll just quickly come to Meher. And Meher, we discussed about how, we can humanitarian aspects in the design itself. Now, I'm not going to elaborate on that, but I think you have some thoughts which could come out very quickly in a bulleted form so that we are able to assimilate rather than look at the theory of it. Please go ahead.
Definitely. So in the interest of time, I'll keep it concise. I want to highlight two key points which I feel as we design modern weapons or use technology, this could come helpful. And my esteemed panelists have already alluded to like the different types of modern warfare and weapons that are being used, including autonomous weapon systems. With regard to autonomous weapon systems, I really want to highlight that there is a consensus being built around the world on the issue that weapons, and not just autonomous weapon systems, any weapons should undergo a legal review, whether they can comply with international law or not. That includes whether they can comply with international humanitarian law. To give you a small example, an autonomous weapon system will be considered to be in compliance with international humanitarian law, provided there is humanitarian intervention in it, provided the weapon provides scope for a human to intervene and distinguish that, hey, this is a civilian, this is a combatant. Just giving you a small example. Coming to the point of cyber operations that we are seeing happening around the world, especially against critical civilian infrastructure, medical services, there's an initiative that the International Committee of Red Cross with some states have started where they are creating a digital emblem of the Red Cross or the Red Crescent in certain societies, as to if this can be flashed when hackers are trying to hack into hospitals, so that they are made aware that this is a protected object under international humanitarian law. I'll keep it concise to these 2 points for now.
Thanks. My apologies because I think, we started a little late and there's a VIP likely to come, but we still want to throw out a question or two. I will go to somebody whom I know a little less. So shall I come to you later, Malik? Yeah. Rahul? Hey, Mike. Why don't you just reach out?
Thank you, General Pawan. Thanks for the panel. My question can be shared between AVM Arun Malik and Dr. Dwivedi. I'm actually doing some research on India's 5th generation stealth fighter fiasco, quote unquote. Pardon me for taking a straightforward approach on this, but I'm sure you guys are aware of our 2-decade journey in the process. I'm coming at it more from a techno-geopolitical standpoint. I'd like to ask both of you to enlighten not just me, but the crowd, given it's a hot topic, President Putin is likely to due in a couple of weeks, on what do you think India should do to fill the 5th generation stealth fighter technology gap?
Okay.
In your words.
We'll have the question coming, 2 questions straight away. Yeah.
I just wanted to ask, just 2 questions for Dr. Dwivedi and VM Malik. Firstly,
That's occupational space by the armored corps. Questions in one.
So I just wanted to ask that BrahMos is such a game changer, as was shown. Why isn't it being used by Russia and Ukraine? Why isn't BrahMos being used by Russia and Ukraine?
Okay.
If it's such a game changer.
Fine.
Secondly, to AVM Malik, I just wanted to ask that is, our key thing, like you just mentioned, is the engine. That's the core of any fighter. So when we are looking at purchasing the Rafale or any other aircraft, shouldn't the transfer of technology of the engine be one of the key aspects of the, any commercial deal? And shouldn't we be looking at twin engines in fighter jets rather than what we are coming in with now as an indigenous production, which is a single engine?
Okay. So I'll let him answer, and then there'll be a quick question to the young man. Go ahead. Would you like to answer the first?
Sir, I would like,
You have the mic. Yeah.
I would like to add to Sir's question that we are lacking in 5th generation technology, but the technology gets older. So what are the way forward for 6th generation technologies there? 6th generation
For 5th and 6th generation?
And
then,
sir, only transfer of technologies can only be possible because we have the talent pool, such as IITs and engineers. So the government should focus on R&Ds like IITians, so that they should be diverted towards the R&D of engine developing stages.
Okay, yeah, this is a comment and we accept the comment. We should be focusing on R&D. But let's answer the question on 5th and 6th and also about what relation.
Am I audible? First, pardon me, as you were frank with your question, I will be equally frank with my answer. The word fiasco is normally used when something is completed and it goes wrong. So the 5th generation fighter is a work in progress and it's a development. So I don't think it will be appropriate to use the word fiasco. It is a work in progress, it's a development. You have to understand that developing a 5th generation fighter is not just a piece of cake. That means I cannot say I want it and I get it tomorrow. Any of the countries which have developed the 5th generation fighter have taken anywhere from 12 to 15 years for it to go from the concept to its actual rollout and incorporation into their defense forces. Now, in our case, the advanced medium combat aircraft, which is our proposed 5th generation, has also been in development for a certain period of time. Now, I think, I do not know how many people are aware of the fact that from the LCA, the original this thing was from the LCA, we go on to the AMCA, but there a development cycle. There is a progress. You cannot go straight from ground to the moon. We haven't gone and made a space station, but we are trying for Gaganyaan, but it's an action in progress. So the steps in reaching that have to be done. The development is on. A very positive, I think, decision by the government. Any?
Take permission. I request that we just, I think the question is being misinterpreted. Okay. Can I rephrase it? Okay, just in one line. Sir, my question is not around our 5th generation program. I know that's planned, proposed, published. So my question was around the technology gap. So
Okay.
I guess enlighten us on what can we do now.
Okay. So the technology gap, you're absolutely right. In today's day and age, earlier the emphasis, when I say earlier, go on to the 60s, 70s, the emphasis was on the ability to go 1.5 Mach, 2 Mach, have aircraft which can go on to 7G, 8G, 9G. That is not what will win you the war. What will win you the war is the capability of your sensors, the capability of your weapons. So the emphasis today has to be, as you rightly said, the technology gap in where are our sensors, what is our sensor fusion, and what are our weapons.
That answered the question quite adequately. Good. I think that was very clear, Nile. Can you just why are they not using the BrahMos?
Very quickly, I will answer your question also, your question also. When we are talking about the technology gaps are being fulfilled continuously. Today, you will be very happy to note that all the avionics of all the imported aircrafts is done by us. So we know avionics, the 4 parts are there in aircraft. One is the airframe, second is the propulsion, third is the control guidance, the avionics part, and warhead and whatever is the payload it will be carrying. Avionics, as far as avionics are concerned, let me tell you, we are second to none. We are Sukhoi, you talk about 27, all the avionics done by us. Then you talk about the airframe, the entire airframe of LCA, which is carbon composite, is flying. Airframe, we understand. Our certification agency like Semlec, etc., Air Force swear by them. They are fantastic. Only the engine is the part. For that also, we are working the technology gap. How to fill it up? There are certain negotiations, certain contexts are going on that we will very come out of. So this part is there. Everything is being tackled, and all the payloads that you talk about, we are quite comfortable. Number one. I come to BrahMos part. The BrahMos thing, what you asked, sir, I would like to tell you. The BrahMos missile is a tactical missile, a bit costly missile. Whenever you are having the ramjet engine type of missiles, they are usually costly missiles. So deploying them against the target has to be costlier than whatever the missile cost. That is the reason many times it's not deployed everywhere. And only thing where we really are going to destroy very important, because the warhead is a 200 to 300 class warhead. In that, whatever can you fit maximum. So that is a limitation of the missile for the tactical systems. That's the reason. They are not deploying everywhere. They are deploying very selectively.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to interject and close the session here. Unfortunately, I mean, I would have loved for us to carry on for much longer, actually, but there's another event which is also important. So, cutting through the formalities, thank you very much for being with us. I hope we all had a good exchange, which was worthwhile for all of us. Let's move into the auditorium now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. May I request the panelists to please accept a small token of our appreciation.